And just days later, she was stopped by law enforcement on the jetway in Miami International Airport, where she was boarding her one-way flight to Vietnam. And she was then charged for her participation in the murder of Dan Markel. After the defendant was charged, law enforcement received information from women who said that the defendant, Donna Adelson, was offering them bribes in exchange for false testimony in this trial. They said Donna Adelson promised them money, housing, veneers, prescription drugs, if they were willing to testify that Catherine Magbanua told them a completely different story about the crime than the one that she would be testifying to. One informant was even able to show law enforcement a script, a question and answer session for a direct examination in trial that Donna Adelson herself wrote, and that Donna Adelson wanted this informant to memorize and come into court and perjure herself by reciting it to you here in trial.
Oh.
Please listen to all of the evidence that y'all are going to see and hear in this trial. I know it's been a long week already, and we have a lot of evidence for you in this case, but when you do, you will see that this defendant conspired with her son, Charlie Adelson, who solicited his girlfriend, Catherine Magbanua, to get this murder done. And then this defendant paid her with cash, with checks for the job once it was completed. The defendant acted in furtherance of this murder plot that went beyond just thinking about it or just talking about it. And these acts make her guilty as a principal to first-degree murder, just as if she was the one pulling the trigger in the garage herself. And while the defendant's choices helped solve a problem within her family, they came at a very high price. She took the life of a loving father of two little boys and caused a lifetime of grief for Dan Markel's loved ones. And at the conclusion of the evidence in this case, you will be convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty. And at that point, we'll ask you for the only verdict that does justice in this case, which is a verdict that this defendant is guilty as charged. Thank you.
All right, briefly approach.
Outstanding. You're mute, John.
I think she did a great job. I think she's absolutely right. What kind of job do you think she did, Drew?
I think she did a great job. She was looping a lot of things, like meaning she'd complete a thought, like, you know, that Dan Markel was murdered by hitmen ordered by this defendant. Then in the next sentence, when this defendant ordered the hitmen who murdered Dan Markel, like, that's looping. You're just saying it over and over and over again, and just build upon that. But it's putting it in the jury's mind every time you hear it. Like, I'm misquoting what she's saying, but
no, I get it. I think it's really important, especially since at jury selection yesterday, they raised the question: do you think, you know, if someone doesn't pull the trigger, they're as guilty as the person who murders someone? And they're all like, no. That person's not as guilty. And I want to be like, hello, Charles Manson. He never even left the Spawn Ranch, and he sent out his girls to go murder all those people. They got him for first degree.
The defense gives its opening statement. We are going to take a brief break. The bailiff will take you to the jury room.
They're going to take a break. Drew, I wanted to ask you, third-party culprit, probably what they're going to go with. There's some way of deflecting blame. With Charlie, it was this whole thing of we were extorted. What I want to know what your guesses are going to be in terms of what will the story be for Donna? Was she, you know, because Charlie already tried the extortion thing and it didn't work. How are they going to try to paint all this evidence so that it means something else?
I don't know.
I have no fucking clue how he's going to take what you just heard and make it seem like, without disputing any of the evidence as fact,